Keek on the mic, keek on the mic. Keek on the mic, keek on the mic. People, this the intro. Sacramento, California, born and raised. And Antelope is where I spend most of my days. Talk bad about my team, you must be a clown. This is Keek on the mic, so you know you better bear down. Bear down.
Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Like always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Before I move forward with today's episode of Keek on the Mic, I just want to remind you guys once again, once the podcast hits 5,000 subscribers, I will be doing a massive giveaway. If you guys have been following along on the community page on YouTube, I posted what I will be giving away. And if you guys missed that post, I will be giving away a signed Cole Kmet helmet and a signed Darnell Mooney jersey, along with maybe a couple of Keek on the Mic shirts as well. So make sure you share every single episode of Keek on the Mic with every single Bears that you know, and tell them to subscribe to the channel. I can't wait to give away those awesome prizes to some very loyal listeners. And once again, like always, thank you guys so much for your support. So I'm really excited for today's episode of Keek on the Mic. I think we're going to have a really, really good conversation, as the report out of Chicago is this: Justin Fields calls new offensive coordinator Luke Getsy a mastermind. And when you look at the history of the offensive minds that Justin Fields has worked with, especially in college, obviously. Justin Fields has worked with several accomplished offensive coaches in his football career. Jim Chaney at Georgia in 2018, the same guy who developed Drew Brees at Purdue, and then, of course, Ryan Day for 2 years at Ohio State. And obviously, Ryan Day is arguably one of the most respected offensive minds in college football. So Justin Fields has had his fair share from learning from some accomplished people. And that's why the comments and the statement that I'm about to read here on the podcast to you were very eye-opening, and it was kind of like a breath of fresh air, because to me, when he made this statement, I was like, okay, things must be meshing well with him and Luke Getsy, and that's a beautiful sight to see as they begin to try to master this new offense that Luke Getsy has brought over to Chicago. So Justin Fields spoke with longtime NFL insider Peter King of NBC Sports, and they discussed what it's like dealing with the pressure of playing for a franchise with such an ugly QB history and how things are progressing in the new offense. He was then asked if he felt that the new system fits him as a player. And this is where Justin Fields offered some great praise for Luke Getsy. This is what Justin Fields had to say about Luke Getsy. Yeah, it does. Luke's a great mastermind. He's a great offensive coach. He's probably the best quarterback coach I've had in my life. Him and Janoko work well together, and having them both in my room every day, and Coach Flus comes in there every now and then, just having everyone in there working collectively as a group is going to get me better. And Luke is going to call what best fits our team and what I do and what everyone else does best. We trust him to do that. And each and every day, we are going to put in work and keep getting better. What a beautiful and powerful statement by Justin Fields. And just like I said earlier in the podcast, when I read this statement, actually when I actually watched the interview between him and Peter King, it was like a breath of fresh air, right? It's like, okay, that's good that Justin Fields is buying in to this new Luke Getsy scheme. And, you know, from time to time, Justin Fields will praise the coaches and his teammates, and that's just how him as a leader, that's what we expect him to do, right? But he has never used words like mastermind and the best QB coach he's ever had. Those are powerful words to use. And this is something to me that really just couldn't be ignored. And I know some of you guys will comment on this podcast today and say, well, Keek, he has to say that, right? He's the leader of the franchise. He has to say that. And to me, I don't think he really has to say that, right? Fields isn't prone to have to say big statements like that. He could have praised Getsy without calling him a mastermind, right? So for him to say that, like I said, I'm going to probably sound like a broken record, but it's like a breath of fresh air. And it was just a really powerful statement from Justin Fields. And it just really helped me understand that Justin Fields is buying into the scheme, and he absolutely loves Luke Getsy. And just a clear indication that Fields is buying into everything Luke Getsy is bringing to Chicago. And the signs are showing on the field too. Obviously, if you've been following along with all the training camp practices, when you look at Justin Fields, his efficiency has improved this training camp. And when you look at the interceptions alone from last year are down, and he's getting better at operating in situational football. And that is something that the new coaches really honed in when they took over in Chicago. Just working on Fields' efficiency, working on him being a smarter football player. And you can tell that by him buying into the system and by him buying into this new Luke Getsy scheme, it is working. He respects what Luke Getsy is doing. Obviously, he loves the fit in this offense. And obviously, that statement that he said to Peter King is very powerful, and it proves that he is definitely buying in to this new scheme. And I understand what you guys will also say, probably commenting down on this podcast, is that, well, Keek, we need to see these improvements in a real game. And I absolutely agree. But what I will say to that is that this is a process. We all know this is a process. He's still trying to learn this new offense. I believe Luke Getsy said last week that they're finally at the end of like the installation phase of this offense. So the more and more they work together, you will start to see more chemistry with Fields and his receivers and all that good stuff. But at the moment, it's really good that Fields is buying into what Luke Getsy is bringing to Chicago. But once again, Fields' progress is very evident. And every time Getsy speaks, he has a clear plan for where Justin Fields is going. And once again, Justin Fields is buying into this new offensive scheme, and praising Getsy shows that everyone is on the same page, which this is why this is so important, is that this is not always the case. The quarterback praising their offensive coordinator, right? For example, Mitch Trubisky, Matt Nagy, they didn't click. Obviously, Justin Fields, Matt Nagy, they didn't click. Jay Cutler, you could say that he maybe clicked with Adam Gase, but other than that, Jay Cutler had a really tough time meshing with any of his offensive coaches. So when you look at those little examples, this is why it's really nice to hear that Fields is meshing well with Luke Getsy, because it's not always the case. And that is the first step of trying to create a consistent and hopefully powerful offense in the future, is making sure your offensive coordinator and your franchise quarterback are on the same page. And once again, as they continue to learn every single detail of this offense, and Fields masters these details of this new offense, things will start clicking. And once again, if you have been paying attention and following along with all the training camp practices, you can tell that the offense in baby steps are starting to click here and there. Obviously, it's still a process. They're still not perfect, and Justin Fields and Luke Getsy will be the first ones to tell you. They will be brutally honest with you that the offense is not there. They still have a lot of work to do. Once again, Luke Getsy just mentioned that they are at the end of that installation phase, so I really think the more and more they practice and more they work at it, things will start clicking. And for me, a guy that's been following along with every single training camp practice, the offense does have days where they are starting to click. So this is exciting, guys. And once again, this is just a process. For me personally, as a Bears fan, I truly feel in my hearts of hearts that we have the right quarterback in place in Justin Fields, and that we finally have the right offensive coordinator in place in Luke Getsy. So I'm just ready to see them put it all together, and I hope that we see some fireworks this season in this Chicago Bears offense. So before I let you guys go, let me ask you guys this. How do you guys feel about Justin Fields' comments on Luke Getsy? Let me know down below in the comment section. I would love to hear from you guys. Before I let you guys go, let me remind you one more time. Make sure you share this podcast with every single Bears fan that you know, because once Keek on the Mic gets to 5,000 subscribers, I'll be giving away the signed helmet by Cole Kmet and the signed jersey by Darnell Mooney to some very lucky listeners. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Keek on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. But other than that, I'll be back for an all-new Bears podcast right here on Keek on the Mic. Thanks, guys. And bear down.
You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the mic.